Hello, listeners, and welcome to today's Cult News. I'm your speaker, Casey, host of the Cult Vault podcast, and today marks 30 years since the 51-day standoff between the Branch Davidians and the FBI and ATF came to a devastating end as the Mount Carmel compound burned to the ground in Waco, Texas, along with most of the residents inside. To pay tribute to this event, if you are watching the video, you will see a list of victims' names appear on the screen. I will also post all the links in the episode description. As a summary, the Branch Davidians were a religious sect that emerged as a splinter group from the Davidian Seventh-day Adventist Church, which was founded in the 1930s. The group was led by Vernon Wayne Howell, who later changed his name to David Koresh, and his teachings deviated from mainstream Seventh-day Adventist beliefs. Koresh proclaimed himself to be the final prophet mentioned in the Bible and claimed to have a special connection with God. The Branch Davidians' beliefs combined elements of Christianity, apocalypticism, and Judaism, and were characterized by a strict interpretation of the Bible. The Branch Davidians believed that the end times were imminent, and that Koresh was destined to lead his followers through the apocalyptic events described in the book of Revelation. The group established a community at Mount Carmel Centre, a compound located near Waco, Texas, in the 1980s. The compound served as their headquarters and residence, and it was fortified with extensive security measures, including fences, guard dogs, and weapons. The Branch Davidians practiced communal living with shared resources and a strict hierarchical system under Koresh's leadership. The Branch Davidians' lifestyle and practices drew attention from law enforcement agencies, and in 1993 they came under investigation for alleged firearms violations and reports of child abuse, including allegations of Koresh having multiple wives and engaging in sexual relationships with children. On February 28, 1993, the situation escalated when the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives, or the ATF, attempted to execute a search warrant and arrest David Koresh at the Mount Carmel Centre. The ATF raid turned into a violent confrontation, resulting in the deaths of 4 ATF agents and 6 Branch Davidians. This event marked the beginning of a 51-day standoff, also known as the Waco Siege, between the Branch Davidians and law enforcement. During the siege, negotiations were attempted to resolve the situation peacefully, but tensions remained high. On April 19, 1993, 30 years ago today, the standoff ended in a tragic fire that consumed the Mount Carmel Centre. The exact cause of the fire remains disputed, with some sources suggesting it was started by the Branch Davidians themselves, while others claim it was a result of a tear gas attack used by law enforcement. In total, 75 Branch Davidians, including Koresh, died in the fire, including men, pregnant women, and children, making it one of the deadliest law enforcement operations in modern American history. A total of 86 people lost their lives throughout the 51-day standoff, 82 Branch Davidians and 4 ATF agents. The events at Waco and the handling of the standoff by law enforcement were widely debated and scrutinized, and still are to this day. They raised concerns about religious freedom, government overreach, and the use of force in law enforcement operations. The Branch Davidians and the Waco Siege continue to be subjects of controversy and discussion to this day, with differing perspectives on the motivations, actions, and outcomes of the group, and the events that unfolded at Mount Carmel Centre in 1993. If you would like to learn more about the history of the religious group, you can check out these journalistic books and memoirs from loved ones and surviving members of the group. There's a book named The Waco Siege, An American Tragedy by Jack Rosewood. There's Massacre at Waco, Texas, The Shocking True Story of Cult Leader David Koresh and the Branch Davidians by Clifford L. Leyendecker. There's Memories of the Branch Davidians, the autobiography of David Koresh's mother. And there's also ones like When They Were Mine, Memories of a Branch Davidian Wife and Mother by Sheila Martin. If you would like to watch films made about the subject, there is a dramatic reenactment with someone that looks quite similar to the cult leader playing the role of David Koresh, whose photos from the films are often mistakenly used instead of real pictures of David Koresh. There's this one, Waco from 2018. There's In the Line of Duty, Ambush in Waco. And then there's Waco, The Rules of Engagement. Interestingly, Waco, The Rules of Engagement looks into the facts and speculation around the events that unfolded, leaving many to believe it was government agencies who started the fires and burnt down the compound. So if you would like to know more about the conspiracies surrounding the wrongdoing of government and government overreach during this siege, you can check out that, which is available, I believe, on YouTube. For documentaries on the subject, you can watch the recently released Waco American Apocalypse from Netflix, a 3-part documentary that looks at the siege primarily. I did a recent review of the documentary that you can find here or in the episode description. There's also a 2021 documentary titled Madman or Messiah. There is also this talk by cult expert Stephen Hassan, where he breaks down what agencies could have done better and how he even phoned during the siege and offered his services to the government, which were ultimately turned down, unfortunately. From the Freedom of Mind website, Hassan has said, David Koresh claimed to be Jesus and led his small cult of so-called Branch Davidians into an unnecessary tragedy. During the standoff, I watched in horror as I saw one mishandling after another. I even went to my congressman at the time, Joe Kennedy, and asked him to please ask the FBI to consult with me, but they were too busy handling it. After many days went by, I started going to the media to talk about how I believed many of the tactics the FBI were using were counterproductive. I had information from individuals who had loved ones inside the compound and was more than horrified that they decided to assault the compound with gas. I knew it would go up in flames. After the tragedy, Attorney General Reno said publicly that they would research into what happened so they could learn from their mistakes. After waiting years, I decided to do this talk and just say publicly what I felt was appropriate. Regrettably, there is more information that is confidential which will never be told. There is a lot of information available on the events, and you can find a lot out about the history of the group all the way back to the birth of Seventh-day Adventism during one of the many Great Awakenings. You can find books, listen to talks, watch documentaries and films, and you can also research thousands of articles online, including lists of victims' names. There is a way to ensure that history does not repeat itself, and there is a way for us to educate ourselves on things that have happened to stop them from happening again. That is the end of today's Cult News. I'm your speaker, Casey, host of the Cult Vault podcast.